Recording. Audio's okay?
You sound clear to me.
All right. We are recording, we are streaming. We got a new subscriber on Twitch too. I think we're up to 2 people now.
Awesome.
Let me check it out, make sure it's streaming correctly. My ginormous ring light died last week, so I got a little battery-powered one clipped on, and I now realize that I never needed the ginormous one anyway, because it was a big pain in the ass.
Yeah. I'm just using natural light these days. Sitting in front of a window.
Oh, yeah.
It's raining right now.
Did you switch your setup around? Or was it always
No,
that way?
I have this desk in front of a bay window, and I just move my laptop from my couch to over here when it's time to record. That's it.
Because I don't see the pile of Mountain Dew 12-packs behind you.
Yeah. Well, those are gone. I only have one now, and it has Mountain Dews in it.
Yay, we're streaming correctly. Hello, Twitch. Go fuck yourselves. Intro. Intro is we are this and we are they and he is he and I am I.
Yeah, I'm Matt. That's James. This is Leftist Lens. We're going to probably make you mad a little bit.
Or depressed or despondent or whatever.
That's what we do.
We are the harbingers.
Because that is the world we live in.
We are the harbingers of doom.
All right. Well, the biggest news this week, we talked about it last week, that we'd probably be talking about it this week, is Trump was found guilty.
Yay. And that came in just in time to do this, too. That was, what'd they do, 48 hours of deliberation?
11
hours. Wow.
Yeah.
For 30,
it came back real fast.
For 34 counts. I don't think there was any back and forth in that jury room.
No. Yeah. Coincidentally, the closing arguments were also 11 hours. I think last week I said it would take like an hour each. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Those closing arguments were long as hell.
So I got a couple of points on this. One is that it was a jury trial. So these guilty verdicts were given by a group of people that both teams agreed should be jurors. Okay? That's where this guilty verdict comes from. Now, because I don't think the jury has anything to do with what the sentence is. I think that's solely on the judge.
Correct.
The entire time since fucking January whatever of whatever year the fucking insurrection was, because I don't know right now. The entire system has never had the balls to hold accountable this individual. It's never been that the people haven't had the will. We just never had the power to do anything until there was a jury seated. The people did what we would be expected to do. The system has failed the entire way. There's the lack of accountability for this individual. So this is the key thing. I think July 11th is the sentencing. If that doesn't fucking fit what the conviction is, we're fucked.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a $5,000 fine for each of the convictions. That's like $170,000. I think he'll get that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want him to go to prison. I don't know that he will.
Well, again, this is where we have to rely on the system to do what the system has told us it's there to do, that it has failed to do every step of the way. If this isn't a paradigm shift for that system, because I was watching somebody last night who was saying that how this case is going to have an impact on the other cases that are pending or in process. I'm not sure what he means by that, because that seems a little nefarious. That maybe it's precedent, I guess, that there's precedent set.
Yeah, now it's happened. A former president has been convicted of felonies.
Yeah, and now Marchand, it's squarely in Marchand's lap to set the next precedent, to apply equal justice under the law, because a guilty conviction is not equal justice under the law. It's just a conviction. It's the punishment that is the justice. And
Right.
if he fucks this up, there's your precedent. The precedent is that we're fucked going forward.
Yeah. Well, there is a change. The justice system is changing. I mean, if you remember Derek Chauvin,
Oh
the
yeah.
murderer of George Floyd, cops never get held accountable. Rich white men never get held accountable. And now we have one of each finally held accountable. But there are more. Make no mistake. I realize it's unique that Trump was a former president, but he's not the only rich white guy that's committing crimes, financial crimes, you know, all that shit. All of them should be held accountable.
Yeah, but well, again, yeah, you're absolutely right in saying that the paradigm shift has existed in terms of in the examples you gave, law enforcement being held accountable. But there's no higher level than this. This is this is as high as it goes. Aside from prosecuting Supreme Court justices for corruption, which when the fuck is that going to happen? Holding a former president accountable for these sorts of things, there's really nothing beyond that to do. If that from the top down, if the paradigm shift doesn't start there, it this is a huge moment, and it's all this. I feel bad for Marshawn because it's all in his lap. This is huge.
And he's going to disappoint people no matter what he does.
Yeah, true.
He's in a no-win situation. But I won't be shocked if he doesn't get any time. I just don't see him going to prison for this. Now, if he gets a conviction in the Washington D.C. case, the insurrection case, he must go to prison for that. Must.
Yeah,
There's no two ways about it.
and there's no way. And I've lost track of where those things are. There's no way that's going to trial before November. Right.
No,
Yeah.
no. The classified documents case isn't either.
What
This is
about
the only one.
well, what about the isn't there still a case in there's
In
another
Georgia, there's the phone call
that's
case,
it. Yeah.
and I don't know where that's at either. That's a state case, I think.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a state case.
Yep.
So that's one. But the good news about that one is that one can go on even if you were to somehow win the election and shut down the federal cases against him. The Georgia case can still go on.
Yeah, and then the Georgia case and this New York case are immune from him being able to pardon himself, which
Correct.
fuck is that?
I don't know.
God.
Well, I know I sent you a couple of text messages I got. I don't know who signed me up to get right wing text messages. I've never gotten them before, and then all of a sudden I got two of them from two different phone numbers, and it was after both of them were after the conviction, and I just found it hilarious that one of them, I just replied, "Fuck Trump and fuck you," and then I said, "You have successfully unsubscribed."
You didn't even request to unsubscribe. I wish they all worked that way. Oh my god.
So I don't know what that was about, but anyway, I'm glad he was found guilty. He's a felon. In fact, I saw a funny picture this morning on Twitter. It was a picture of Trump and crap, what's her name?
Nikki Haley?
No, the she's famous. She's super famous for doing like TV show where she does homemaker stuff. Martha Stewart.
Oh.
It was a picture of Trump, Martha Stewart, and Snoop Dogg, and it's like two of these people are convicted felons, and the other one is Snoop Dogg.
Oh my god.
That made me laugh too. All right, so I just expect to be disappointed with whatever sentence he gets on July 11th because
Yeah.
I think I want him to go to prison. I don't see him going to prison for this particular crime. I just don't. He's going to get fines.
God, and I'm sure whatever if it's going to be fines that there is a ceiling in terms of what the judge can apply to that. So whatever they are, the fucking degenerates that send him their 401ks and their life savings will chip in to the billionaire so that he can pay his fines. What is wrong?
Yeah, they already
with you
did.
people?
He got like $30 million the day after the conviction.
I wonder about that number though, because somebody else pointed this out. They very quickly came out and said 34 million. He raised 30. There were 34 fucking guilty charges, guilty convictions. 34 million seems like too much of a coincidence. I'm not sure about that number, but whatever. If he got
Maybe, unless it all came from some rich asshole that thought that was poetic in some way.
Oh, and there was some Twitter post. Fuck, I should have saved it. The wife of some hedge fund manager or something. There's a Twitter post. I'm sure it's bullshit. Is contributing $100 million to Trump's campaign fund. I'm like, there was just a tweet. It's probably fucking false, but whatever. And so so make that check payable directly to E. Jean Carroll and the state of New York for what he owes those individuals.
Yeah.
That zeroes the account out.
I got to tell you, though, looking at him, it's obvious this trial put a lot of stress on him. I don't know if he's alive in November. I really don't. He's old. He's not healthy. And this trial put a ton of stress on him.
Yeah, I was
He doesn't
watching.
look well.
I was watching him. I don't know if he finally felt after the verdict was read that he was no longer under a gag order, and I don't even know if that's the case. I'm not sure, but he was running his mouth pretty freely right outside the court doors right after those verdicts were read.
Yeah. He's apparently on TikTok now. I didn't go look at his page, but I saw somebody post a screen capture of it.
Oh yeah, Don Jr. is on TikTok too, and he did a thing with him and his dad that I commented on, and that's when I lost my account. My secondary account got banned.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What'd you say?
It was simply, "Are you dumb?" And
Are you dumb?
are you
got
dumb?
banned for that?
Yeah, it was a legit
my
question.
gosh.
It was
What a
sincere.
bully you are.
I was concerned for their welfare and their intelligence level. Biden's no better, by the way.
Yeah, a little bit, but not much.
He's horrible in different ways.
Yeah, he is.
I saw the
Well,
press.
let's talk about that, shall we?
Well, yeah. Before we do, I saw and this was stupid. This was dumb on his part. It's so cringy to watch. Biden's doing a press conference on, I think it's probably on Israel or whatever. And as he's walking away from the podium, some reporter yells at him about Donald Trump says he's a political prisoner after being found guilty on 34 counts. And Biden stops as he's walking and turns around and does this cringy fucking old man grin at the idea that Trump is a political prisoner. The right is running with that. See, Biden's behind all this and whatever. But that was dumb.
I mean, I don't feel like we should have to point it out, but Biden and the Department of Justice had absolutely nothing to do with this case at all.
yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
There's a state case.
Yep.
There's nothing Biden could have done.
But so Biden, he's just cringe in everything he does. And back on the other thing. I know we're trying to move on to Biden, but I had heard
We
somebody.
don't have to.
I had heard somebody say that because this was a state case, there's no way for it to be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that sounds right, but I don't know. Not a lawyer.
I think state cases get appealed up to the.
I mean, there's state Supreme Courts, and it can go there.
Oh yeah. And they were showing that if he's going to appeal this, the whatever circuit court of appeals handles Marchand's court, they showed the justices for that circuit court. It's all women, and 90% of them are black women. The judges for that court.
There's some context for that. There's actually 21 justices, and 6 of them are black women.
Oh, so they only showed a portion.
And it's
of
a
it.
random draw. Like they'll pick however many hear the case from the 21.
Ah, okay.
I was fooled by that too, but I don't know if you follow the luncheon lawyer on TikTok.
I don't think so.
She put some context on that.
Ah, okay.
But also, she was doing it because of a Twitter post where somebody said, "There's no way he can get a fair trial in this appeal court." And my thought was, black women are much more likely to be fair and look at the law.
Yeah.
Whereas you never know with a white asshole, you might get Eileen Cannon.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
not in this case, she's in Florida, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You might get someone like that that doesn't care about the law and is just biased toward Trump in every way.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we'll see what happens because I know they'll appeal, but you have to have grounds to appeal too. And I like the judge in your original trial has to have made some kind of error
Mm-hmm.
for you to be able to appeal. And I've seen some lawyers say that there are decisions he made that may be appealable, and other lawyers have said there aren't. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then the question is going to be whether or not those decisions that were made can be shown to have influenced or directed what the verdicts wound up being, and I think that's a stretch. And it would probably be fertile ground for an appeal if those deliberations took 10 days and there was a hung jury and they went back and forth and back and forth. This was like it took them 11 hours to read through 34 fucking charges and say the word guilty. That's what the 11 hours was. This was a slam dunk.
Yeah, that was really quick. Because like I've said it before, I was on a jury back in last March, 2023. It was a murder trial, and we had 10 people. The first poll we took, 10 people said guilty, and we just had to convince 2 other people, and it took us 3 days. So they had to all already think he was guilty right away. They weren't changing anyone's mind.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it to me anyway.
I imagine what they did is they went into that deliberation room, and I think they have the option to do this. They'll just do an initial around the room, and I think there was pretty much agreement at that point. They all just said guilty, 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 guilty.
I think so too. So either way, he's a felon now. Can't vote for himself in Florida.
Oh, was that
That's awesome.
that was determined?
Well, Florida doesn't allow felons to vote, and he's a felon.
Yeah.
Some states felons can vote, some they can't. In Florida, they can't.
I want to see him now commit voter
I
fraud.
wouldn't be surprised if they changed that, honestly.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I mean, I think they should. Being convicted of a crime doesn't mean you're not a citizen. You should still be able to vote, in my opinion.
Well, as I understand the law here, though, is that it doesn't apply to every felony. It's nonviolent felonies that can still vote. It's violent felonies. So that's why I was wondering if that was verified to be the circumstances for him, because it's a nonviolent felony.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say I'm ignorant on that. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I assumed it was all felonies.
I hope it applies to him, and I hope he commits voter fraud, and I hope he gets caught for that and charged with it and processed for it and convicted of it.
Yeah. All right, now the stuff I don't like talking about. All right, so first, I just want to say, Zelensky asked Biden for permission to use American weapons to strike targets inside Russia. And after thinking about it for a couple days, Biden said, okay, but he put limits on it. I don't know exactly what those limits are, but he said you can have limited use of American weapons inside Russia, right? Now contrast that with Netanyahu in Gaza. He doesn't ask Biden what he can and can't do, and he's using American weapons to do whatever the fuck he wants, and there's no limits. And Biden has said repeatedly there's no limits.
Yep.
So what's up with that? Ukraine is literally acting in self-defense. They were invaded by Russia and is acting in self-defense, but we put limits on what they can do with our weapons. Israel, by contrast, is not acting in self-defense at all. This is just a slaughter. And there's no limits.
I can tell you what the justification is for the difference between those two relationships, and it's been spoken by members of Congress. It's been spoken by Biden. It's been spoken this way for 50 plus years. Is that the United States has a special relationship with Israel. Therefore, the relationship we have with them when we provide material support or whatever isn't the same as it is for any other country. The U.S. has a special relationship with Israel, and that's why this gets treated differently. It's disgusting.
Yeah, the special relationship is we provide all the funding for their military so they can spend their own tax money providing things like free healthcare and free education, the things that we don't get here.
Yep.
That's the special relationship.
Yep. Ugh.
So
God.
Yeah.
This, okay. It's what? How many months has it been since October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June? 8 months. 8 months. Nothing has slowed down. Nothing has ever gotten better. Nothing's ever improved. The only glimmers, fuck this. The only glimmers of hope we get are when we hear stories of some child being found alive under the rubble and they were rescued and so forth. But at no point has anything slowed down with and then I bring this point up also. Israel has said that they're or I saw a story yesterday that they're pulling out occupation forces from Khan Yunis. Have you seen that part of Gaza? There's no reason for anybody to be there. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. Why would they be
And I'll
there?
tell you another thing. They've been saying that there are 30,000 dead Palestinians for months. That number has to have gone up.
Oh yeah, that number is.
And I know they're not accounting for the bodies under rubble because they don't know who's there yet.
Right. Yeah.
So this is way worse than what we know. Absolutely.
I
I'm
wonder.
convinced of that. It's
Yeah,
just
and
way worse.
I wonder if we'll ever know that they've done a very good job of literally burying so much of the evidence and so much of the truth under tons of rubble that.
Yep.
Oh, Germany also, by the way, gave permission to Ukraine to use their weapons that they provided for strikes inside Russia. But my understanding of what I know of two circumstances that were the U.S. conditions. One is that I think what the stipulation by Biden was Russian occupied territory, like Kharkiv or something. But one of the other stipulations is for strikes actually inside Russia was they cannot hit planes that are on the ground. They cannot strike aircraft that are not in the air. Why the fuck is that a condition?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get it. He's probably worried about an escalation. You know, Russia has threatened to attack other countries. I just don't see him doing it.
Well, I will point out again that when the invasion of Ukraine started, and people were pleading with NATO countries to provide material support to Ukraine, the knee-jerk response from all the NATO countries, including the United States, was, "What do you want to do? Start World War III? If we give them missiles, if we give them jets, if we give them this, we give them that, it will be World War III." We're beyond doing all that now. It's not fucking World War III.
No, it hasn't escalated at all. He's still only in Ukraine. Not only that, but the feeling of our NATO allies has changed. A lot of them are willing to do more than we are now.
Yeah, and largely I think because it's a war of attrition at this point, is that we've been pumping billions of dollars into Ukraine, and Ukraine has lost ground in the past few months, and they're getting tired of funding this. They're getting tired of it. This could have been stopped in the first month, and would already have been over for years. But I think NATO countries are getting tired of funding this, and you're seeing the blowback in the United States. You're seeing the blowback from people on the right saying, "Hey, we're giving billions of dollars to Israel and Ukraine, and what about us? What about things that we need in this country?" And so the right is beginning to have some cognitive dissonance about this, not for the right reasons, but the blowback is starting to happen. I don't think that's going to change anything, but maybe what it will change is that we finally give Ukraine the ability to absolutely take care of business and end this. But it's getting a little late in the game for that too.
Right. All right. So, what horrible thing did Israel do this week? Well, there was a camp outside of a UN building in Rafah that Israel had told people they could shelter there and they would be safe, and they bombed it. And the video outside, you could see the remnants of the bombs. They were American bombs. Biden was asked about it. Did that cross a line for you? And he said no. Netanyahu admitted that it happened and said it was a mistake.
Yeah, tragic accident, my
Oops, we'll
ass.
investigate. Which is all he said about every horrible thing they've been caught doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mistake. We'll investigate. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. How is that not a line? How are there no lines that Israel can cross that'll make Biden question his support? I don't get it.
Well, and at some point fairly recently, Biden had said that the other red line that he has is Rafah, that do not invade Rafah. So what they
Yep,
do?
and they did.
They did. They bombed it. They invaded.
Yep.
They continue to do it today. And Biden gets asked after that, how is this not crossing the red line? And I think part of his response, if I remember correctly, is I will never abandon Israel. The special relationship. So the whole
Israel's not in any danger at all right now.
Right?
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're. It's disgusting. I don't even know what to say about it. All right, but we do have a ceasefire plan that was introduced by Biden. It has a lot of support from our European allies, even the ones that last week declared or recognized Palestine as a state.
Mm-hmm.
They support it. Hamas said they're optimistic about it. They like it. What it does is it's a 6-week temporary ceasefire where Israel has to remove all their forces from Gaza. And then there's going to be a set of hostage exchanges, women and children. Hamas is supposed to release women and children in exchange for a couple hundred Palestinian prisoners in Israel. And if that happens, they'll negotiate further hostage exchanges. And the statement from Biden was, as long as Hamas lives up to what they're expected to do, it can become a permanent ceasefire. No mention whatsoever on Israel living up to what it has to do on its side whatsoever. And then less than an hour after this ceasefire proposal came out, Netanyahu said, we are not stopping until Hamas is destroyed. So apparently Israel's not interested in the ceasefire, although the families of hostages in Israel are very in support of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how many of these hostages are still alive and what they have to say when they're rescued. Because I think very early on, Israel realized it's not in their best interest to rescue these hostages because they're coming out and they're fucking eviscerating Netanyahu and his government for their handling of this. And I don't think Israel doesn't want to see those hostages alive. They're waiting until they die.
No, I mean, a few weeks ago, they literally shot some that had escaped and were waving white flags. And the Israeli troops just shot them and killed them.
Yeah.
Their own hostages. Ugh. Despicable.
And it's odd to me that in whatever the U.S. is crafting and proposing for a ceasefire, that they are presenting that to a criminal to accept it or not, Netanyahu and his foreign minister, whoever was also indicted by the ICJ. We're negotiating with a fucking wanted criminal to accept this ceasefire and exercise the conditions of it. Everything about it is disgusting.
I mean, it is important to note the ICJ also indicted the head of Hamas. So
yeah.
Which I'm fine with. If he committed war crimes too, fine. No problem with that.
Yeah. I don't feel the need to defend anybody in this other than the innocent people that are being victimized and exploited and slaughtered every day.
Exactly. All right. That's all the heavy topics I have. You have anything you want to add before we get into the month that it is?
Let me do the Google News scan real quick like I normally do. And survey says... Well, Reuters is saying Biden's Gaza plan is, quote, not a good deal, but Israel accepts it, Netanyahu aide says. So we'll see where that goes.
All right. Maybe we'll talk about that next week.
There's nothing in here that, yeah. So, happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month to you, my friend.
I
And just
will.
to be clear, we are both straight cisgendered males. But the fact that the LGBTQIA plus community has a month to celebrate itself doesn't harm me in any way. I don't think it harms you either. There you go.
Not even a little.
Nope.
I
The
will.
only thing that I notice during June every year in the city that I live in is the crosswalks downtown get repainted rainbow
Oh,
colors.
really?
Yeah.
That's cool. There
And how does
is.
that hurt me? It doesn't. Not
Yeah.
even a little bit.
Well, it's all. I will point out because I see this all the time on both entrances to the base that I work on. There's a big electronic marquee that advertises things going on base, and as you drive in either entrance, there are several slides that are very visible that talk about the U.S. Air Force respect for Pride Month and Happy Pride Month, and they're really drilling it home. And I've never seen anybody of the thousands of people that drive on and off that base, anybody bitching about it, anybody complaining about it, anybody having an issue. And I'm talking about civilians as well as enlisted folks. And believe me, people run their mouth about stuff all the time, but the Air Force is not holding back in terms of at least leadership expressing. And I've got an inbox full of memos from top military leadership talking specifically about Pride Month and articulating points about that very clearly. I know there are people that I work with that are very triggered by this, and frankly I love that for them, and I hope they get triggered to the point of a fucking coronary failure. But
I always think when Pride Month happens, I always think about my brother. My brother is gay. He's out. I'm not outing him. And but he's also a Trumper, and I just don't know
oh my
how that
god,
how that works. I really don't.
you ever asked him?
I did try to talk to him about it once. He got really angry with me when I was trying to explain to him that, how much he's going against his own self-interest by being a Trump supporter, and he just got mad at me, and quite frankly, we don't really talk anymore. But
That's unfortunate.
yeah.
It's I've seen it described as internal in different situations depending on where that dissonance is. It's internalized misogyny, it's internalized white supremacy, and anybody who fits the profile of somebody who you would not expect to be supporting people like that, who chooses to, it's one of those dynamics. And people change. I mean, they can wake up, they can have their epiphany, and then they can sit back and take serious stock of what they thought they believed in, and change their path. I have seen it.
Well, the one thing I think about in his case is for the past 10 years or so, he's been working in a small family business, not my family, someone else's family, but just small family business. He works in IT. And I'm just assuming that whoever the owner is, there's like maybe 5 people that work there, and I'm guessing they're Trumpers, and he just was hearing it all the time. You know what I mean? And if that's all you hear,
Yeah.
then I can see how that can happen. Well, he recently quit his job because he's moving to Ohio to move in with his boyfriend, which is great. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in a new job. Maybe he'll have some new opinions around him. Maybe he'll come around. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's time. I assume he's younger than you because you're like wicked old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm 2 weeks away from 46, and he's 5 years younger.
Oh, there you go. So he's got plenty of time to have the next shift in his paradigm about life. And because I look back at what I believed when I was in my teens, in my 20s, in my 30s, and so forth, and I can see definitive shifts in a lot of things that I perceived and believed or thought I believed. And it took, just basic information for me to say, wait, this is fucked up. There's no reason for me to believe this. And yeah, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I still get emails from libertarian think tanks because I used to think I was a libertarian.
So did I.
So
Yeah. It's kind of like I was raised Catholic and then I became atheist and then I converted to Episcopalian and then back to atheist again. And I also did other religions and stuff. But it was an easier transition to go from Catholic to atheist to Episcopalian because they call Episcopalians Catholic light. They're just a lighter version of Catholics. But it's the same thing for anything else it's an easier transition to go from being a Republican to being a libertarian because it feels like it's vastly different. But are libertarians really that different from Republicans? They're crazier for the most part.
yeah, they're crazier. But the one thing that libertarians tend to believe that I support is just leave people alone. I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the one thing. They just want to be left alone. They're willing to leave you alone. They don't hate people generally. They're not against pride. They're not against abortion either. So that's a plus.
Yeah, I
They just
haven't.
don't want the government to do anything to help people. They just want, you know,
Well,
that's the problem I have.
but that's where I differ from libertarians because the government has a role, and unfortunately, the government's role has never really fulfilled its mandate. That if we're going to go full socialist, then the government's going to do a lot of things, and the reallocation of the resources where government puts its assets now over to things that actually help individual people, I think is where we need to be. We're not, the whole libertarian utopia philosophy about, the roads will get built. We don't need the government to build the roads. And these are some basic ideas of libertarianism.
Hmm.
But my feeling at this point in my life, and I can't see it changing again because I'm almost dead. There's no time to change again. The the hey, that's a win for everybody. That's not a bad thing. I lost my train of thought, but the the government needs to have a role in our lives, and the role that it has now is awful. And there's a better way to do it. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily less government. It's a better application of the vast resources that the government has that could be applied. And then this comes back to people losing their minds now finally about the amount of money that we're funneling toward places like Israel and Ukraine and things like that. That what could that money do here? You know, it's
Well, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it before, but we could cut our military budget significantly, still spend more money on our military than any other country does, and have free healthcare, free education, nobody homeless, nobody hungry. We could do all that.
yep,
We just choose not to
yep,
because we'd rather have the military to make rich people richer. That's one of its main purposes. And to, support colonization efforts still in 2024.
yeah.
That's insane.
I think Bernie, the last time Bernie ran, part of his platform was, the closure of, I don't even know how many hundreds of military bases we have on foreign soil, but closing those down, and there was an accounting of how much money that would save, and that I don't think even if Bernie had gotten elected, Congress would never do that. It would have to go through Congress in some way, shape, or form. The unilateral
Yeah,
power.
well, they did close a bunch of the bases in Korea. I was stationed there for 6 years, and while I was a cartographer, and while I was there, I made a map for the general. He wanted a map of where all the bases were on the peninsula, and I made that map, and there was 100 and some. A
Just in
lot of them were
Korea.
real,
Just in
just in
Korea.
South Korea. A lot of them were really small, but there were a few major ones. And while I was still over there, they were going to close a lot of them. They were making um, Osan Air Base, just kind of in the middle of South Korea, a little bit um, bigger, and they were going to move everybody there essentially. And that did actually happen a couple of years ago. So, I mean, it took a lot longer than they said it was going to take, but it did eventually happen.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know about our bases in Europe because we're all over Europe too. We're all over Japan.
Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what we're doing
And
in all those places.
how many other countries have military bases on U.S. soil again? What's that number?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's zero.
Big old fucking goose egg, thanks
Yeah.
to the Monroe
We do
Doctrine.
we do have foreign soldiers on American soil though, but it's small. We have like exchange programs with some of our NATO allies. I worked with some Canadian soldiers for a time that were just on an exchange program. Like they send a couple of our soldiers to Canada, and then a
Yeah.
couple of them come work with us. And we do that with Germany and France,
Aust-
Great Britain.
yeah, Australia. We have special forces
Yeah,
guys from Australia on our base pretty
but
frequently.
they don't get bases. We just get some of their
Yeah.
people,
Yeah. Yeah,
and we
we
send some of our people to their military too.
yeah.
So.
Anyway.
But yeah, I'm glad it's Pride Month. I don't know. I was thinking I could do we could do like a thing every week for Pride Month and recommend something related. Uh, so I was listening to music yesterday and a song came up that I'm very familiar with, but I was like, hey, these are lesbians. It's Pride
Oh,
Month.
I know. I
Maybe
think
I'll
I know who
talk
you're
about
talking.
it.
Yeah, I bet you. The last dinner party.
No, I
It
don't
wasn't
know
them.
even know who that is.
Oh, I saw your outline also mentioned something about the Indigo Girls. I was a big
Yeah,
Indigo
Indigo
Girls fan.
Girls. So I've been listening to the Indigo Girls since the 90s.
Yeah, so have
They did
I.
have a hit. I think it's called Galileo.
Yep.
Everybody knows that one.
Yep.
But that's not my favorite song of theirs. My favorite song of theirs is Kid Fears. It's a really good song, and it builds, and it has in the third chorus, I think, Michael Stipe, the lead singer of REM,
Oh, yeah.
comes in and sings the third chorus. It's a good song. I recommend it. I actually saw the Indigo Girls in concert, 2018, I think, and it was a good show. So there you go.
I'm not familiar with
Support.
the. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the song. I'll look it up.
Yeah, check it out. It's a good song. I like it.
Cool. All right.
I'd play it, but we'd get a copyright strike.
Yeah. Right. Can't do that shit. Any predictions for what we'll be talking about next week?
Trump will say some crazy shit. Eileen Cannon will, delay something again.
Yeah, outside of some natural disaster or some active shooter situation, I feel like it's going to be a pretty slow news week.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. We're going to be talking this summer about climate change. I have a feeling. There's going to be tornadoes. There's going to be hurricanes.
Oh
There's
yeah,
gonna be
like yesterday we were supposed to go out to the Naval Aviation Museum and we woke up to tornadoes and waterspouts and wicked storms all morning. I mean, that's not terribly unusual for here for this time of year, but it is hotter than usual for the month that we're in. So I imagine middle of July it's going to be a fucking nightmare how hot it is here.
Yeah, I've seen several articles talking about the hurricane season and how it is absolutely going to be the worst ever. Not necessarily the number of storms, but the intensity of them.
Yeah, we're way overdue for one here. We haven't had a direct hit in quite a while, so I'm expecting we're gonna
And my
have.
parents have a house in Fort Myers, and a hurricane hit there a couple years ago, and they just got their roof replaced this past winter. So it'd be a shame if they got hit again.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you're still here, like, comment, subscribe, argue with us if you want.
we'll be posting clips.
If you have an insightful comment, we'll shout you out
Yes, we will.
next week.
We will
To
hang.
the other, I don't know if you noticed, but 27 people watched an episode a few weeks ago. We should rewatch that one and see what we did differently.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think it was episode 27 or 28, maybe. It had way more views. I mean, not a lot of views still, but more than we usually get. So
That's fairly
I don't
recent
know what we
too.
did
Then.
different.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
like some old episode. Cool. All right.
But yeah, we're gonna keep going. We don't care if nobody listens. I mean, we do a little, but
Yeah, like I do this to entertain myself, and if you're entertained
Yep.
by it, I feel bad for you, but that's what
Yep.
it is.
All right. So thanks for listening. I've been Matt, and that's James. We'll still be Matt and James tomorrow, but you won't see us on here.
All right, peace out. Streaming stopped. All right, cool.